We are so happy to have with us today Bruce Carter. Many of you remember him from a post we did last November. He was in New Braunfels, Texas, close to where I live, and he was on his tour bus with his Joe Gotta Go merchandise. And you'll see we have on the same shirt today.
We do.
Yes, we do. So before I turn it over to Bruce, I just want you to know what an outstanding man that he is. In addition to being a two-time All-American honors winner when he played football at Iowa Wesleyan, he also was honored to win a Lifetime Achievement Award, the Presidential Award, because of honoring over 500,000 young people in this nation by being their mentor. He has been impactful in our nation with our young people like none other. And Bruce, man, that's huge. Thank you.
Um, the
So
work has to be done. So,
it's just I can see it. It just flows out of you, and good. It's awesome. Thank you. So first of all, I just want to ask, tell us a little bit about what has transpired since we last talked. What inroads have you made? Things like that.
well, I mean, we've been able to hit maybe 15 states since we met and got to Georgia and realized there's so much work to be done in Georgia that we've decided to stay here through November. And with that work, our biggest thing is to be able to educate, create opportunities, and love people through the process. We keep telling people to vote for this candidate, that candidate, but one candidate, because they get elected, if there's not an understanding what people need, what their expectation for the vote, it's still like wasting their vote. And so that's the sentiment of people. I mean, across the board, you have two candidates outside of their base who is not excited about the candidates. So that means if you are an independent voter, you are someone who votes sparingly, you're just not excited. And so you got to be able to talk to people to tell them how it affects them, if it truly affects them. So we're going to be in Georgia. We're going to work, and we're going to, like I said, we're going to educate. And we're really focused on sisters here. The crime in Atlanta is through the roof. Um, the poverty level is higher than the nation's average, specifically in the homes of sisters. And I think that poverty rate, along with the lack of opportunities, just some of the things that have been consistent in Georgia is rearing its ugly head, and we want to see if we can have some impact there.
So, have you partnered with any other organizations that are doing what you are doing, or are you the only one that's focused on this?
Well, I have partnered with organizations in Atlanta and throughout Georgia who have the heart for people. So the founders, they're already doing the work, and they may not have looked at politics as a way to add to their level of service. So the conversations, and for them, they're like, if there are resources and I can do more of what I do, or I can lighten my load, then I'm all in. So it's been something that's very palatable for people who need to sit down and look at how they traditionally voted, and what is it that I really want for my vote out of this election. So that's what we've been able to accomplish.
Do you see people that are like, okay, they feel the pain that is caused by the policies of the current administration and they get the connection with the administration causing it? Are they seeing that? Do they get it?
Um, well, the people who are struggling to buy groceries, who are one downfall or one car breakdown or one medical bill from being in financial distress, I think they get that they're there, but they can't tie it to policies. So I don't think they really understand how this policy work or this policy work, or how inflation is tied to this, or this, or how not being able to put a pulse on what's there's a disconnect. So if you look at the current administration, the way they tell it, they believe things are really good for the vast majority of Americans. And so if you're in leadership and you're disconnected specifically to the people who you need to vote for you, then that's an issue within itself. But those people who, and I'm talking about people that go to work, Mary. I'm not talking about people that stay at home and live off the government. There
Right.
are too many working people, families that are struggling. And I think it resonates with them, but I think they need to know how whatever administration is will have an effect on them.
Right. Do they realize that unemployment was lower in the prior administration than it is now?
Well, I'm sure they do, but once again, for me, and I like to deal with my experiences because they're real. They're not hyperboles. They're not steered one way or another, and they're not someone trying to take data and manipulate it. When you talk about the unemployment rate, the people I'm talking to are either working or they're unemployed, and some of them are unemployed because they don't get the fact that I need to go to work. So the unemployment rate is not something they're going to be focused on. This group is saying, how will it benefit me? If
Mhm.
so and so is elected, how is it tangible to me? And so that's the biggest issue. So I think it has to be articulated how it's tangible, and also understanding that the federal government is not going to be the body of work that directly affects your long-term success. Their policies will put things in place, but it still has to come to the state, and it has to hit your county, and some of it has to hit your city council, your municipalities. But to understand what's flowing through the government, what's available for you if you need the government for certain things, or just not being taxed on monies that you earn to pay for illegal immigration, to pay for unnecessary wars, that's more palatable for them, for those that work. Like your tax base is what the main policies that are different between the two organizations or the two candidates.
Do they understand how the illegal immigration issue touches every American and they are not exempt from that?
They 100% understand that,
Okay.
to no
So,
doubt.
well, that is very apparent in the polls. The polls indicate that is the number one concern of Americans in the polls. Now, do they poll every American? Of course not. They try to do a cross sampling. But in the people that you meet with, they totally get the fact that illegal immigration has harmed every one of us.
They do. And, I'm the one that will say illegal immigration can't just be when someone's murdered or someone who's not from this country commits a crime. It's deeper than that. So it has to be for the people that employ them. I was in Walmart today. I'm asking a question where some is the person can't even understand what I'm asking. So Walmart should be on the hook. Every company that hires individuals who can't speak English, you put them in a place where your customer base is English speaking. That lets you know they more than likely are not here legally. Then we need to deal with that. I just think if people are going to be in this country as if I was in Spain or wherever it was that English is not, I need to go back and I need to go and adopt more of their way of life than not being able to function. So what has happened in this country, specifically in Texas and other border states, you almost are second-rate citizens if you are only English speaking. So the many of the municipalities, the banks, they cater more to the Spanish speaking employees and community because there's so many there. So those are some of the direct effects of illegal immigration that I've seen.
Do the people that you encounter, do they understand that the woke ideology is not to anyone's benefit?
Well, I think the people that work do, but the people that think, so I have young people with me right now. That's my that's my base that I deal with, the 18 to 25. And the problem we have, it doesn't matter about their race, because I've had various races with me, is they don't have a reality of what life really is. And I think that's what this woke agenda, life is easy, do what you want to, has rewarded us with. And it is going to leave us as a nation in decline because we're not going to have people that know how to go to work and be responsible and deal with criticism. You know, you got this deal going on at Boeing's. What group is this? Is it the group that says, I just want to go to work and get a check? Or is it the group that understands that when I go to work, people's lives are on the line, so I have to be focused and I have to do my job? It's more than just getting a check. So we have to go back somewhere in this country and build a moral system where people individually say, I'm going to do what's right because it's right. But at the same time, we have too many clowns that are running for elected officials. So, you know, the behavior of, and I'm talking about both sides. You got some of these people that represent us should not even represent a clown show, but we get behind them because they're Republican, or they get behind them because they're Democrats. And so we as people, we're diluting the systems that we need in place so we can function as a productive society. So I see so much out here, and you know, sometimes it takes a lot just to stay balanced because we don't want to deal with reality. So woke is not a reality. It won't sustain itself. That means that the country can't have more people that think they're woke than people who are responsible. So we have a responsibility. I always say, as a parent and as a grandparent, if a parent was enough, if you're a grandparent, that means one, you're getting older and you got another generation that you need to try to work for and support. So, yes, the woke is a problem. Um, can we fix it? Yes, but I think we have to build up some of our young people who are in their early 20s. So they are the ones that basically kill that whole woke agenda.
I remember one of the things that was impactful to me when we met back in November. You spoke about leading with love. I'd like you to share that again with our audience. That was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, for me, I go everywhere. You know, I go where there are rebel flags. I go where people don't like my message. But I'm always able to sustain because I'm just like, look, I love you. I want to tell you my why. If you listen to my why, that doesn't mean you have to agree with it. But here's what's happening. Your grandmother's been voting this way, your mother has been voting this way, and nothing's happening. And for that reason, you got to just be the smart one in the group to flip the script and change everybody. I say, if you want to be a Democrat, make the Democrats earn your vote. But you're not going to do that if you just continually freely go out and vote without holding people accountable. And
Mhm.
then they agree. They like, yeah, they all do that. You're right. So and so said they was going to do this, but it was the ability to meet them where they are, and let them know that I'm sincere about this. I'm not here because some candidate said come here. I'm here because I believe what I'm saying, and here's the why. And normally that why, with some compassion, is still stern, but people seem to appreciate it. I've had some Republican colleagues that talk about various groups as if they're animals. You know, they just praise God, but then they talk about the people like, and they're still human. You know, God still can have love for them. So I think that has to be something that we need more in this country, is people to know that love is real, and love is that it's the great equalizer if you can get to that point.
That is very true. So, what are your plans moving forward through now till November?
My plan is to turn this system upside down on its head. It is to build relationships that are sustainable beyond the election. I just spoke at on St. Simon's Island yesterday, and I was talking to a group of people that are in retirement communities, and my point was, Herschel Walker ran as a U.S. senator for you all. Herschel Walker, was the guy who you all believe would get black people to vote for him. When we got to stop that foolishness thinking just because someone's black that they can relate to another person. It has to be about experiences. I said, my problem is Herschel ended his campaign with $5 million. Somewhere along the way, we got to say, look, Herschel, You got to go back in these communities that we're trying to work in, that we're trying to have impact in, because we're not doing anything. So that's the stuff that I'm talking about we have to do. I'm talking about long term, and we're not doing it. Um, Having impact, and whatever I tell a person is sustainable, because I'm going to be out here making for candidates who, at the end of the day, win, lose, or draw, are going to say piss on the people. So I'm going to have some impact that goes beyond November the 5th in Georgia. We're going to be here to work within the DA race. We're going to work in the mayor of Atlanta's race. We're also going to work in the governor's race. But it's going to be a continual level of commitment from home ownership, business development, and really talking about generational wealth. But it's people that work, people that are looking to be a part of something, and people that want the opportunity that they've been told exists in America, but it hasn't touched their door yet. So that's why I'm excited about what we're doing today.
So, over the last few days, there's obviously been a lot in the press about Fani Willis, all that's going on. And then today, the judge ordered that 6 of the indictments against President Trump be dropped. What are the thoughts and comments that you're hearing from people as you do what you do?
Well, it's like a two-tiered system. You have some that say, Fannie was out of order. It doesn't matter about the race, the way she did what she did, and the fact that remember, she has a RICO case against some very popular rappers up here. So that community was already inflamed, whether it's a good case or not. So the only people that are really doing the deal of the dance and standing behind her are the black politicians and maybe some of the church pastors. The everyday person doesn't care. They like, if she did it, she should get it, whatever
Mhm.
that is. So that's where the everyday person is from the streets.
So they see the reality of what's playing out with the two-tiered system of justice.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes.
So, in terms of reaching the young people, you mentioned that earlier. I know from watching your videos, you do have a lot of young people that are working with you and helping you in this endeavor. Are they able to reach out to others in their age group and say, look, you've got to wake up to the reality of what's going on? Or are they able to reach their peers?
They will be able, but give you an example. I have two 20-year-olds and two 25-year-olds with me, um, and it's still everyday work of getting them to the point of what being on time is, accountability. So it's the working through them. And now that's what has taught me about this, our generation in their 20s. They're lost right now. They don't
Mhm.
have hope. They lack guidance. They have social media, and they have all these platforms and podcasts. And everybody knows everything, and the vast majority of them know nothing on getting them to the point where when they speak to their peers, they're bringing facts and they're able to stand on what they know to be true, and they'll be like a step ahead of their peers from responsibility. Basically saying, "Hey, this is how it was 3 months ago. This is the real world. Here's the places I've been. Here are the things I've encountered. Here's what I've learned. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm about to build." And da 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 da. And it's all these things that are going to help them be effective with their peers.
The young people that you have working for you, approximately what is their level of education? Like, did they finish high school? Are
They've
they?
all finished high school. Some were at leadership academies. They have at least 1 year of college. One has a CDL. So no, and these are good kids, and
Mhm.
like meaning they've been in no trouble, but they're still empty. They still don't have the hope, or they know where they want to be. At 25, you're supposed to have an idea where you want to be, and that's not the case. So I think that our school systems have failed them. These kids come from homes that had some semblance of a mom and a dad in it, even if it wasn't their dad. So as I said, these are what I would call good kids,
Mhm.
and they're still struggling. So can only imagine when the kids who haven't had people love them on a regular basis. They didn't have grandparents. I did have one 20-year-old who had never been to church before. That's a problem. So some of the issues we face are the ones we don't have God connected to.
Our
We're working on
education. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just said we're working on that, fixing that right now.
Well, that is a good thing. They need that. Once again, you're being that mentor that they need. And it's about life skills. It's not just, do you have a piece of paper that's a degree saying you finished X amount of schooling? You need life skills, and that's what you are teaching them.
Yes.
I remember a few months back, I was at I think it was a local grocery store, and whatever I paid for it wasn't a lot, and I just paid in cash. And the young man at the cash register looked at me and he held up one of the coins and he said, "Is that a quarter?" Yes, it is. I don't know for sure how old he is or was. I would guess him to be about 20. I am certain he had finished, well, he was beyond the age of high school. Did he finish? I don't know. That's not the point. Did he get an education? Absolutely not. He didn't even know for sure if I gave him a quarter.
Mm-hmm. So here's part of what we're talking about is education reform, and that means as parents, as people that pay taxes, we have to reinforce that school systems are teaching the things that are needed today. That means we got to teach conflict resolution. We got to teach consequences because without that, like I said, wherever our kids are not getting at home, we have to supplement that because if we don't, if we do what some people say, oh, it's the parents' fault. But guess what? That kid becomes America's fault or your community's problem. So you can't neglect that wherever we can get these kids educated, we need to make sure that it's happening. Um, for me, yeah, I mentor them. I employ them. I mentor them. I counsel them. They're in therapy. There's always something going on, and so it has helped me. I've learned a lot from them, and it's shown me how far we off are as a country. And so many things that we're putting money and time in really means nothing compared to where we are in our society. That's real. And so you ask me, where am I headed? I'm headed to a place to galvanize hundreds of thousands of 18 to 26-year-olds over the next year and bring them into a place so I can help them become more well-rounded, more grounded, and morally have a compass in place. Not perfect people, but at least they understand the value of work. They understand the value of being accountable for their actions. And they know when they wake up every day, it's their responsibility to be the best person they possibly can, no matter what's going on in and around them. So that's kind of what I've learned from having them. So I'm putting systems in place every day based on what I've learned from them in the last 6 months. And so, like I said, I'm excited for the next 4 years of what's going to happen. Hopefully, uh, I can find partners across this country, whether they're in the government, whether they're individuals. But this is about putting Americans first and doing everything we can to create a country that you're really, really glad that you're a part of it. We say it's the United States of America, but it's a lie. We're not united as states. But how do we get to a point where the majority is in agreement that we need to do this? Is that majority going to be 51%, or can that majority be 80%? Whatever that number is, we got to find a place where, like I said, the vast majority of us as Americans come together and say, you know what, we're not going to tolerate this. Here's what we want, and this is what's going to be the norm. If that means we lock you up for life for this, if that means we put you in front of a shooting gallery for this, if that means we help this group, we need to do that because we're losing people every day, and it's becoming so normal that when it happens, the people say, "Oh, I pray." You're lying. Oh, I'm hurting for. You're not hurting for that family. That family's hurting. That family lost a loved one to senseless violence. That someone lost a loved one because somebody shouldn't have been in the country. That family lost a loved one because someone didn't take action. And those are the people that are losing, they're losing faith in this system and in America when I talk to them because they can't understand why this happened. You know, was it God? Was it this? It's people. And so we really got to start putting more into people.
I know that you have a really good group of kids that work with you. I assume that they travel with you and they stay with you throughout the
They do.
tour.
If
Okay.
they don't get kicked off or quit, yes.
Okay. So they are probably not the ones that are going to be involved in drugs, but
No,
have
that's not true. No.
no?
I drug test them. They've used marijuana. You know, I've had two who had to stop vaping. No, they're regular young. There's nothing special about them other than they got an opportunity and they've had to adjust to be a part of the opportunity.
Yep.
Some of them started smoking at 15, 16 years old.
Have any of them lost friends to like a drug overdose and see the reality of that?
Nah, no, because these kids were not hard drugs. It was more marijuana. So no, they haven't had that. Um, but they have their relationships have been altered, you know, when they've had to go back to Texas for something, you know, that sitting around just playing video games or smoking weed, doing nothing, you know, that's easing out of their system. So it was a challenge. Like, I want to get back to the tour. So at least they've been able to see something different, and the expectation is different. That's what we get. We got to reset the expectation for life. And that's what we've been doing through what we're doing with them.
That's great. So, um, in moving forward, what specific meetings do you have coming up? How can we support you? What can we do to help you do what you're doing?
You know, for me, the easiest thing is for people to go to Joe Gotta Go. You know, I spend about 15,000 a month just on housing for them. You know, to make sure they're good, and that's what we use the merchandise for. I'm speaking at the various Republican clubs across the country. I'm in Atlanta today, but I'm in Augusta tomorrow. I just drove 5 hours from St. Simons back to Atlanta on yesterday. So there's going to come a point, though, where people can help, where they can be engaged. I believe Georgia is going to be the epic center for this election. I think it will be one of the determining factors who the next president is. It is definitely a purple state based on it having a Republican governor and two U.S. Democrat senators. Um, the Republicans lost here in 2022 when they lost their seats, both senates. So I think that this is going to be the place, given the Trump trial and everything that's going on there. So I believe that what will have to happen is, as we continue to move forward, I'm putting together or creating a system called Georgia 300, and that's Georgia300.com. And I'm going to need people to be friends of this movement with these sisters. And I want them to see what conservative means. Conservative means I'm here to support you and help you, but I'm not here to drag you down the road. I'm not here to put you on my back and make your life that easy. But I am willing to stand with you and assist you if it makes sense. And that's the part that I think is going to make the relationship work. This easing people from what they've been told. I told them at the group yesterday. I said, "Look, here's the hardest part. When people talk about Republicans, they believe it's a group of old white racist people. That's how they see the Republican Party. Um, and unfortunately, when I go to the Republican club, guess what? They're not racist, but they are old and white. So even in that, we got to do more to bring a younger generation in. And that means if you've been there, you got to be willing to bring them in and make them acceptable. You got to be able to understand there is a generational gap. How does that work? How do we do this? I don't have the same energy to run something. Am I willing to train somebody to replace me? So all this stuff is what I talk about, no matter where I'm at. So But stay tuned. It's going to be great. There's some things that are going to have an effect here nationally, and I'm just excited. Pray for my health. Uh, pray for my weary body and mind sometimes. Other than that, I see the outcome being great.
So we've got your website for Joe Gotta Go. What was the other website that you mentioned? Can you repeat that, please?
Georgia300.com.
Georgia 300 backup.
.com.
Dot,
Georgia, the number 300.com.
got it.
And it is a precept of Gideon's army that God took these 300 people, not the extraordinary, not too many. Took the ones who was lapping, who was drinking like a dog, and said, I'm going to use them. So by using them, it was me. You can't say so and so did. And I think that's the concept I'm using. I'm continually talking to these young sisters across the state, and I'm saying, look, you're so valuable, but you got to know how valuable. And we want to help you get to that point. I want to walk you through these process of becoming a homeowner. You got to change some things you do over here. You got to save a little more over here. You got to work on getting this done to make sure that you're creditable. You got to have this job. And if you do that, I promise you that we'll get down the road together. So that's the stuff that I'm doing, something that's tangible, because it's that tangible stuff that makes people excited for doing something. So
that's what touches them personally, and that's why it's vitally important.
Yes.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to add as we come to the close of our time today?
No, as I said, continually pray for me. The simple things: health, a clear mind, and the ability just to deal with some of the stuff you go through just by being on the road. You're in hotel after hotel, different people, different environments, but really staying healthy. I just need to be healthy for this run for the next 8 months, and as long as I'm healthy, this is
Okay. All right. Well, Bruce, it has been a pleasure to have you on again today. I will be in touch with you. We'll do this again down the road in a few months and check in with you. I follow you on Facebook and enjoy seeing what you're doing. So thank you for all that you're doing. God bless you. We will be putting these websites up for our viewers so that they can help make a difference for you.
And I may get a chance to do a surprise visit in Central Texas. I'm supposed to come back for the eclipse. And if I do, I may swing through Central Texas.
If you do, please let us know. We will.
I will.
In mass.
All righty. It
Bless
was nice talking to you again. Okay. Thank you. Okay,
Thank
bye-bye.
you.